let's all agree on that. I look forward to continuing to work with you, to learn with you, and let me know how we can help in any way. I am on the, in addition to the Energy and Commerce Committee, I'm also on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And I look forward to partnering with you and learning with you and making sure that we all work together. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and that was Congressman Payne from the U.S. Who was a U.S. representative from New Jersey 7th Congressional District since 2023.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much to the Congressman for being here. And I think what we'll do now is continue with our student panel with Manaji.
Yes.
Okay, let's resume.
Thank you, and thank you to all the congressmen that have come. Hi, I'm Monica Lagola, a rising junior who's at UC Berkeley. I'm studying electrical engineering and computer science, and I'm a board member at the Cyan Berkeley chapter. My parents always taught me about my history, about my religion, about my faith, about my roots. But they also taught me that the reality of the world is they're not as accepting of it. And when you talk about it, they may not perceive it the best way. So, at UC Berkeley, I stayed a little quiet. Well, as quiet as I could. I'm not a very quiet person. And so one day, I posted about what was going on in Bangladesh. And I'm really glad I did, because I got lucky. My two friends happened to see it. My other Cyan core board members, Arya and Aryan. And they thought, let's take a chance on her. Maybe she knows the truth. Because that's how we live. We live in a mentality of, do we take the gamble of speaking up? But I'm so glad that they did, because I found this community, and we have made really great progress at UC Berkeley. This past March, we proposed a Hindu Heritage Month proclamation. This bill was to the UC Berkeley Student Senate. This bill basically outlined that we have a large Hindu population on campus. The state of California recognizes October as Hindu Heritage Month, and Hindus on campus celebrate different festivals like Diwali, Navratri, and Holi. And the UC Berkeley Senate said no, in a 2-14 vote. Sorry. They made the claim that this was Hindu nationalism. The same Senate that recognizes Muslim, Jewish, and Sikh Heritage Month said no to Hindus. And they were applauded by their peers for it. We live on a campus where they don't even want to recognize us. And these are the same senators that 48 hours after the Balgam attack happened, they said that it was justified because resistance to occupation is apparently never terrorism. They were applauded again by their peers for this. But isn't murdering civilians in cold blood because of their religion not terrorism? They checked if our men were uncircumcised. They asked if they could repeat the Kamal. They murdered them in cold blood in front of their wives and their children. And my peers said it was justified. The same guys that walked me home from the library to make sure I get home safe at night were the same people to say that this was justified. If it were me, would it have been justified? Speaking out is difficult. And we spoke out for the HHM, and the harassment we received was immense. I have so many texts, so many calls. I still get calls from random strangers threatening me. But the biggest issue is that we don't have a voice institutionally. Our institutions justify when we are harmed, and we are too scared to speak up. We need institutional change, support, and a voice. All hope isn't lost yet. Our advocacy and education for Hindu Heritage Month actually sparked a huge conversation amongst the entire campus. I was actually asked all of finals week, what's going on? Can you explain this? Why did this happen? And I basically spent more time explaining what happened with this bill than actually studying for my finals. Sorry, Mom and Dad. But this backlash that the Senate received actually resulted in a possible reproposal of the bill. So I have huge hope for that in the fall. So one thing I'd say is please remember that speaking out creates change. And though it's difficult, everyone needs to know our truth. To lawmakers, please listen. understand the realities that we as Hindu Americans face, and work with us to live in this beautiful country in harmony. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being so brave to first tackle the problem and then to come and talk about it. I think it's interesting, right? We didn't ask you, but we heard the same comments, the same threads come over and over again. We had a speaker in Bangladesh, and both of you talked about being victimized for even honoring the dead at Bangladesh. And we had Professor Justin speak about caste and its horrific impact on Hindus, and you're talking about the impact. So I want to take a moment to point out how interconnected the threads of Hindu phobia are. But what is your advice for students like yourself, right? Or what is the biggest hurdle you faced when you decided to take this on? Like, was it it could be an internal block, an external block? I'd love to hear.
So I would say that the biggest hurdle I struggled with at the start was, I think first thing, even knowing that like Hindus could even advocate for themselves. I think often as a community, we tend to shy away from any form of advocacy. However, after actually like learning about this organization and learning about organizations which do stand up, I felt really inspired to be able to even take that first step. And the second thing I would say is that with students, sometimes it's like we don't want to, I feel like it's like we don't want to offend people, right? And that was definitely one of the first hurdles I had to even being open to speaking about certain Hindu issues and topics. Like, for example, what happened in Bangladesh, or what's happening right now in Bangladesh, what's happening in Kashmir right now. These are certain issues which can be deemed as slightly controversial. However, I really do think that standing up for yourself is 100% the first step you have to do. If you're a student and if you feel like you're being victimized, if you feel like your voice is not being heard, you have to, I would say it's part of it is thinking out of the box, but also realizing that there are resources out there which can help and support you. And that's definitely one thing I've learned greatly at Rutgers is that there is a resource. There are either the Hindu chaplaincies, which are amazing, some of them are in the audience right here, or there's even organizations which can support us. Organizations like Cyan, for example, which can definitely help and support you.
Yeah, I think going off of that, one of the biggest hurdles I really faced was that no one really knows their history. If we talk about the average Hindu kid, I'll take my campus for example, they probably would not have been able to tell me anything that happened in Kashmir, period. Mm-hmm. And that was really interesting to me when this incident happened. And the biggest thing that I learned is that we don't tell our kids what happened, and everyone else tells our kids what happened. And that's why our generation has divinity. They don't know, like 90% of the people around us don't know our own story, but we know what other people want our story to be. And so the biggest thing that helped me kind of start these conversations with people around me was to understand what they know or think, and then understand what the fact is, and then try and explain that in a very calm conversation. And I think honestly, like that's how these things start. On a larger scale, obviously, pushing out the facts, explaining it, doing education advocacy is really important. But just like within a circle, just standing up and saying, "Hey, I don't think that's actually what happened. Let's talk about it." And starting that conversation is probably the most powerful thing anyone can do.
That's great. And then for all the parents in the room, what would you tell them, right? Because many times we hear from young folks that the community is very conservative. They don't want to go against it. It's hard enough fighting your peers and fighting injustice. To have to fight your family with it is a little hard. So what would you tell all the parents?
I think, and I say this because sometimes my parents do this even when I talk about a lot of Hindu advocacy, is we get very scared. Don't do that. Focus on your studies. Oh no, you could get in trouble. My parents are very scared about harm to me, obviously. And it's important. Obviously, protect yourself. But we as a population have only survived by protecting each other too. And we have to protect our faith. So I would say that you need to teach your kids from the beginning, and this is something I loved about my parents, was they never hid anything from me. I knew everything from the start. There wasn't a fact that was hidden. There wasn't anything that they didn't tell me. I knew who I was. I knew what happened with my parents, my grandparents, my great-grandparents. Tell your kids. They need to know who they are. If every other kid knows who they are, why can't we know who we are?
I would just quickly add on, also don't shy away from things like politics and law and just being involved. I think oftentimes Hindu families, they tend to say, no, everyone should become a doctor, an engineer, and earn the most money as possible. Now that's great, earning money is great, go get it. But I really do think that we need more young Hindus in politics and law, in the humanity fields, where they're actually able to make an impact in a different way. Trust me, money will play its part when it's time. It will play its part, but you actually need someone to actually take that stand and actually take the first step. And that comes through policy and through law.
Last question. Would you change anything again? How is this experience of standing up for justice and standing up to your peers and educating, has it changed you? Would you do it again?
I think it shocked me. I actually didn't know organizations like Kona and Cyan existed at all, so I was kind of like, whoa, okay, this is great. But I also think that if I were to ever do it again, I think in hindsight, I realized that because I spoke up, people around me who did actually know and did actually feel the same way, also spoke up. So I think I would have gone into it less scared. Say it. There are going to be another 10 people in the room that agree with you.
I'd like to echo that as well. I feel like especially when the attacks were happening in Bangladesh, at first I was thinking that oh, no one's going to stand up for this. No youth especially will stand up for this. And then I realized that there's so many Hindu youth out there across the country, across the world, which are actually willing to take and be vocal. And I really think that just not having a fear of withholding your voice. Really be vocal. Allow your opinion to spread. I think that's really important.
Thank you so much for sharing, for your bravery, and for being here. Thank you. Let's give it up for our brave student panel.
Yes, that's not a serious sit where you are. They'll be standing here and then Vaishali will take from this side, right? Yeah. Just
We have 2 high school students. We could do
all of them later?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, with the youth. Okay.
So thank invite Meera Trivedi and Sagar Patel to come. Meera Trivedi is a high school student, and she's a rising first year. So she just graduated from middle school. And we have Sagar Patel, who is a rising senior. So they're going to be sharing their thoughts and their experiences being public policy interns.
One by one, you guys can come on the podium. So we're just. It's not a panel, so you don't need to.
Oh, okay, perfect. Hey y'all, I'm Sagar. I'm a senior at Buford High School in Georgia, and I've had the pleasure of being a policy intern for Kona for about 6-7 months now. When I was younger, right, I grew up in Georgia, which is, as many of you know, a very southern state. I didn't grow up really with the experience of being, your traditional Hindu of many sorts. My grandparents loved to espouse the values of Dharma and of Hinduism to me and my cousins and my little sister growing up, and that was, for me, the extent of my knowledge. I didn't have a passion to go for. I didn't have much of anything really to go off of. I didn't know much. We didn't have the resources, right? And then, slowly but surely, I became more and more exposed to the struggles that Hindus face across the world. So for me, I'd say I like to call it a conversion to understanding this tradition came when I watched the Kashmir Files. So like many of you here, right, when you saw the Kashmir Files, I'm pretty sure many of y'all's first reaction was horror, right? Disgust, rage even. For me, it was rage. I had never seen anything like that happen to people that I consider myself the descendants of, right? Of a group in India, around close to where my family originates from, who suffered so much. And their suffering, unlike the suffering of countless other communities across the world, went unheard. No one stood up for them. No one, not the Indian government, not the government of Kashmir, not, at that time, not even other Hindus abroad, right? It was a hidden tragedy, sorry. That tragedy to me was disturbing. It was eye-opening, and that really motivated me to look for opportunities within this. So originally, I've done a variety of things, right? Whether it was talking to teachers about it in school or having my school projects focused around topics of Hindu identity. I remember in my 9th grade AP Human Geography class, for those of you who know what that is, one of the topics was migration, and I was lucky enough to get a topic of forced migration. So for that topic, I chose to discuss the exoduses of Kashmiri Pandits, starting from, I think, as mentioned before, the 12th century, 13th century, moving forward. Yep, exactly. And for me, that was how I really began the small level advocacy work. My teachers, I grew up in a community that was, of course, very Southern, but also very, very open to listening, to learning about people of different backgrounds. My teachers encouraged me. I was blessed to have teachers who said, hey, Sagar, I know you're really passionate about this subject. Why don't you come up? Why don't you take some time to explain to us? I used to go into class early morning and give little presentations about different facets of Hinduism. And that to me was one of the most memorable experiences of high school as I've become a senior now. And it's something that motivated me further. So then one year, actually, I was moving a little bit forward, right? About last year, right, I went to gymnastami at one of my family friends' house, and then I was introduced to a member of Kona. And when she explained it to me, I was like, sign me up. This is something that I really see myself involved in. And that's what happened. I joined, and I haven't looked back since. I've been able to be a part of many great initiatives. I've planned, several events. I've helped plan several events. And as a policy intern, I had the opportunity of, calling different representatives, of discussing with different leaders of this great nation about how they can help support Hindus in their own community. So one of the topics I'm most passionate about, going back to that, watching the Kashmir Files, was the genocide of Kashmiri Pandits and the genocide of Hindus globally, right? So through the policy intern program, right, I was able to discuss with different congressmen. I was a part of several meetings about how congressmen and how American leaders could get involved, especially in regards to the recent violence in Bangladesh, something that horrified me. And my experience is a little different than some of the other speakers. I haven't experienced, the same level of hatred, the same level of anger that some of other people face. So maybe my experience is a little bit different in that sense. But I have seen the positive side of this movement, right? A movement that inspires people to take a stand for Hinduism, a movement that is inclusive, that lets people of all backgrounds, no matter which faith, no matter which race, no matter what background, right, take part and grow and learn. And I've seen a community that has stood through some of the most, I would say, some of the most hidden and yet some of the most atrocious violence that humanity has faced, right? We are here today as a legacy to that. We have survived for 2,000 plus years against the tide of violence and hate. And that in itself is commendable. All of you sitting in this room today have had that opportunity. You are part of a resurgent movement, a resurgent faith. So today, let's remember that, right? Let's remember that, and let's take a stand for Dharma. You can come to these advocacy meetings, and it's great. We're so glad that you're here. But let's take action. Let's start doing protests. Let's start organizing fundraisers. Let's do whatever we can to ensure that the Kashmir Files, that there won't be any more movies like the Kashmir Files and now the Bengal Files. That there won't be some, crazy on the news who's like going off about all of these different things about how Hindus are second class and all of these different things that I've heard and seen on a variety of places. Let's take that and let's educate and inspire our community, because only in this country can a group of first generation, second generation, and third generation immigrants create a movement about a religion that almost maybe 75 years ago had little to no, knowledge. The nation didn't know about that. Let's use that opportunity for the benefit of society and for the benefit of our country. Thank you so much.
I'd like to introduce Congressman Sagar Patel.
Yes.
Hi, namaste all.
Namaste.
My name is Mia Trivedi, and I am a public policy intern with Kona and a rising high school student from New Jersey. First off, I'd like to tell a little story of something that I did in school that Kona inspired me and helped me to do. Last year, while learning about World War II, I came across something that struck me in a new way. This symbol, used by the Nazis, was constantly referred to as swastika. I had always known there was a misconception surrounding this symbol, but experiencing it firsthand in a classroom setting felt different. The swastika is a sacred and auspicious symbol in many dharmic traditions, and seeing it misrepresented motivated me to take action. I gathered a group of students who shared my concerns, and together we began working towards change.
Yes, give an applause to her. Yes. Yes.
After several meetings with teachers and administrators, we finally received approval to collaborate with the school board. Now, our curriculum will acknowledge the true meaning of the swastika and differentiate it from the Hakenkreuz, this symbol used by Hitler. Efforts like these matter. Advocating for our symbols, our heritage, is so important. Because if we don't, who will? Who will stand up for our community and protect our children from the bullying and hate that arise from these misconceptions? In October of 2022, spiritual leaders and organizations from the Hindu, Buddhist, and Native American traditions came together to issue a historic proclamation that clearly distinguishes the sacred swastika from Hitler's Hakenkreuz. While honoring the deep spiritual meaning of the swastika in their cultures, they also stood in solidarity with the Jewish, Roma, and other communities that have faced genocide and bigotry, firmly condemning anti-Semitism. This landmark proclamation opens the door for spiritual leaders and organizations around the world to unite in promoting understanding, healing, and mutual respect. That's why I urge all organizations to sign the Swastika Proclamation. You can find it on understandingswastika.org. When individuals and organizations unite to support initiatives like this, real change becomes possible. To sign the proclamation, please go to understandingswastika.org. I'd also like to share part of the reason I'm in Kona. So, my dad, he's Nicholas Reddy, he's the president of Kona. So, when I was younger, I had absolutely no interest in advocacy. I thought what my dad was doing was a waste of time because I never really indulged myself in these topics. So when I was in 6th grade, 3 years ago, my dad dragged me to the second, I believe, annual advocacy day. And from there, I learned a lot. And it encouraged me to go to more and more Kona events. In 7th grade, I started going to all the Kona events that I was able to. In 8th grade, I started volunteering for Kona as a public policy intern. I then joined the Swastika team, Swastika Task Force, and Cyan. I am now, I'm still volunteering, and I hope to go forward in this. Honestly, Kona has changed my views for the better, and has pushed me towards a career that I now see in law and maybe political science. Thank you.
Thank you. We're proud of you. Yes.
I just want to say one word about Meera.
We are proud of her.
About Meera. Anytime we put out an opportunity for the interns to step up and do something, she always volunteers. She delivers on time. She follows through. I mean, she's really an amazing intern, and I know this is training for an intern's future, right? When you go into a professional environment, you have to be on task. You cannot be fooling around, right? If you make a commitment, deliver on it. So thank you. Sagar too. I mean, one of our
Sagar.
Thank you, Sagar.
If we could have all the students and youth come up to the front, we'd like to take a picture with all of the young folks here on this side of the table.
I'd like to organize it.
Yeah, go ahead, no, show how you go ahead.
Yeah,
And
so
please
all of
confirm
you
we
sit.
are going to be having more comments after this.
Yeah, so all of you sit where you are, and the students will stand here, and Vaishali will take a picture from the other side.
If it works.
If it works for you.
Do it.
We can give you a chair.
You are with her? with her. She's
Subramaniam Raja Krishna, yes, Representative Subramaniam Raja Krishnamurthy. He is the congressman serving for the Illinois 8th Congressional District, and he has been the U.S. representative for this district since 2017. So I'd like to again introduce Avery and Erica.
I think they.
All right. Well, we were able to give a booklet to them as well,
Yes.
and Representative Krishnamurthy has been a huge supporter of the Hindu community, so we thank him for his support. All right. I would now like to invite Sudha Jagannathan, who is Kona's Director of Government Relations, to come and share some closing thoughts with us today. And again, I'd like to have everyone please give their attention to the front. Is Sudhaji here?
Yes. And after that.
And also before she speaks, I know there's going to be a commotion to grab more snacks and head out. So I want to briefly give some logistics with you all. So after this, at 5 o'clock, we're going to be heading out of the room. We'll be taking a group picture in front of the Capitol. And after that, we will be having dinner at 6 p.m. here. All of you are invited to come to the dinner. So we hope to see you back in the same room at 6 p.m. So I'll now hand it over to Sudhaji. And thank you all so much for letting me be your MC for the day.
Thank you to everyone who's here. This is the 4th annual Advocacy Day for Kona. And for me, it's the second, because the first 2 years I couldn't attend. I'm always amazed at the enthusiasm of the whole community, especially the volunteers who walk the halls. I had the pleasure of walking with Karthik Chandrakanthan. I have to say it was a very big adventure, but we got some fantastic pictures. So thank you for coming, thank you for engaging, thank you for volunteering to make this a success. And the speeches by the students and our guest speakers, I hope everybody has a good idea of what challenges are facing us as we become more visible and successful people, right? So I think we are going to conclude now.
One more. Thank you.
Huh? Right now?
Yeah, would be good.
Okay. All right. So I think you have to step up to the last minute changes. But we do have someone here, I have to say, who's a very passionate Hindu. And I'm so happy to see somebody like that. And he's an advisor to Kona. And so with that, I'm going to invite Achyutan to join us. He's from the area. And it's been an amazing experience to work with.
I'll just say literally 10 seconds about Achyutanji. So he reached out to Sudhaji on LinkedIn, I believe, and said, hey, how can I help? So a lot of people reach out to us and say, how can you help? And then when we ask them to help, crickets. Okay? So that's the kind of help we get. But Achyutanji is very different. Not only did he help, now I'm going to give you an example of what happened. In Virginia, there was a bill that would declare swastika as a symbol of hate, not too long ago. He used all his, I would say, political power, social power, whatever you want to say, to help stop the bill and change the language. So you can say, putting your money where your mouth is, in that sense, he's a true example of that. And since then, he's been serving as a legal advisor for us in many different matters. So we're really excited and happy and thankful for Achyutanji to be with us. So I want him to talk about his experience, why advocacy matters. So please go ahead.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank
Namaste.
you all for having me here. I'm really proud to be here.
When I see Hindus advocate for themselves, that's what makes me really happy. Because if we don't speak up, no one is going to speak up for us. So I'm going to keep this really short. Nikunj asked me to talk about, the issues that we face as a community, and the most important thing that I would like all of you all to take away from here, in terms of what I would suggest to you all, is this: religious liberty is for all of us. It's not for some. It's not for a few. It's for all of us. We are all entitled to have religious liberty. For too long, we've been in a situation where our traditions have been desecrated, and we have just taken it and said, well, I don't want to make a ripple on this. No more. What I would like you all to do is tell the world the era of passive acceptance is over.
Yeah.
When I see on media pictures of Lord Ganesha, the remover of obstacles is on a toilet seat, or when the sacred symbol of Om, the very vibration of our creation, is trivialized on a pair of flip-flops. This is not merely an insult to a symbol. It wounds our collective spirit. It is an erosion of the respect that every faith in every community deserves. An attack on one aspect of our Dharma is an assault on all of us. The time for polite silence is over.
That's right.
We no longer must sit and tolerate it. We must speak up. What Kona is doing is invaluable. We need to have a collective voice where we can be heard and we can be respected for our faith. We're not unarmed in this fight. We have something called a Constitution. And it is something that is just not a piece of paper. It is a living document that we can turn to for help. We have the First Amendment. It is one of the most powerful amendments. It gives us our ability to be heard anytime, everywhere. The freedom of religion is another part. We should not take it for granted. For you all to have a little bit of background, I came here at a very young age, and I can only speak for my parents, but every time we want to speak up, our parents tell us, don't make a ripple, don't draw attention to yourself. That's a mistake. Because if we don't speak up for ourselves, no one else is going to speak up for us.
That's right.
Every time somebody insults us doesn't mean we get to file a lawsuit. What it does mean is we get to take action. How do we do that? We do it by, first and foremost, coming together as a community. We document and report. We engage and educate, organize and advocate. And all of those things can be done with an organization like Kona. This journey is more than protecting symbols. It's about asserting a dignity. We are entitled to be heard, we are entitled to be respected, and we are entitled to be proud of being a Hindu.
Thank you.
Understand that we live in America, and freedom of religion is a beacon that only we can ensure shines brightly, and as long as we tend its flame, we will be seen and heard. Let our collective voice rise, not as a whisper, not as a murmur, but as a thunderclap, a testament to our resilience. Jai Hind, God bless America.
So I want to make sure people stick around for dinner, please, because Vivek Agnihotri will be joining us as our chief guest. So do join us at 6 p.m.
To be able to be brave and bold enough. You won't believe how many times I have been told that, I shouldn't be doing all of this. I'm really isolated, lost all my friends, believe me. And not only that, I have friends who tell their husbands not to join Kona. So that's a takeaway. We are wonderful to have these brave people here amongst us that inspire us and really help us do what we do on a daily basis from Kona. With that, we'll begin our prayers to end and conclude our event today. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Wonderful. All right.